It was a routine afternoon flight. Hyderabad to Chandigarh. 2 hours in the air, 198 passengers, 2 infants, 6 crew. Indigo flight 6E108 had landed safely at Shahid Bhagat Singh International Airport at 3:29 p.m. on May 5, 2026. The hard part was over. The aircraft was taxiing to Bay 1. People were reaching for their bags. Then the passenger in seat 39C looked down. The power bank in the seat pocket in front of them was on fire. Within seconds, smoke filled the cabin. Within minutes, 6 emergency slides deployed simultaneously. Within 30 minutes, 200 people were standing on an airport tarmac in Chandigarh, wondering how a banned device ended up in a seat pocket on a commercial aircraft, and why nobody had caught it before it exploded. 5 passengers were injured. The aircraft sustained damage. India's aviation regulator opened an investigation. The device that caused this had been explicitly banned on Indian flights since January 2026. That ban is 4 months old. This is the forensic investigation into what happened and why the gap between the rule and the reality matters every time you board a flight in India. Act 1. The incident here is every confirmed fact about what happened on May 5th. Indigo Flight 6E108 operated from Rajiv Gandhi International Airport in Hyderabad to Shahid Bhagat Singh International Airport in Chandigarh. The aircraft was an Airbus A321, one of Indigo's standard narrow-body fleet. On board were 198 passengers, 2 infants and 6 crew members. The flight landed safely at 3:29 p.m. Completely normal, no issues during the flight. The aircraft proceeded to taxi toward Bay 1 at the terminal. During the taxi, a passenger in seat 39C alerted the cabin crew that a power bank kept in their seat pocket had caught fire. The DGCA confirmed this in their official statement. The power bank was in the seat pocket, not in hand baggage where regulations require it to be kept. Smoke spread rapidly through the cabin. The crew acted immediately, using 2 onboard fire extinguisher bottles to control the fire before it could intensify. The fire was extinguished, but the dense smoke already filling the aircraft meant evacuation was necessary. At approximately 3:35 p.m., 6 minutes after landing, the crew deployed all 6 emergency slides simultaneously. All exits were opened. 198 passengers and 6 crew evacuated the aircraft onto the tarmac. An Indian Air Force fire tender stationed nearby responded immediately. All passengers were evacuated and accounted for. 5 passengers sustained minor injuries during the slide evacuation, consistent with the physical demands of emergency slide deployment, and were transported to a nearby hospital for observation. All 5 were reported in stable condition. Indigo confirmed the incident in an official statement. On May 5, 2026, while Indigo Flight 6E108 from Hyderabad to Chandigarh was stationary after landing, an incident involving a customer's personal electronic equipment catching fire was reported. In the interest of safety, an immediate evacuation was carried out and all relevant authorities were informed. All customers have been safely moved to the terminal. The DGCA confirmed the incident and opened a formal investigation. The aircraft was grounded for inspection before resuming operations. Act 2. The rule that should have prevented this now. Here is where this story moves from an incident report to an investigation. Because the device that started this fire was not legal on that aircraft. It had not been legal on any Indian commercial flight since January 2026. India's Directorate General of Civil Aviation, the DGCA, implemented strict regulations on power banks and lithium batteries in early 2026. The rules are explicit and unambiguous. Power banks are permitted only in hand baggage, not checked luggage, not overhead compartments, and not in seat pockets. The regulation requires them to be in accessible and visible locations, specifically so crew can monitor them for overheating during the flight. Using a power bank to charge devices during flights is prohibited. The DGCA banned in-flight charging specifically because the charging process generates heat, and heat is the primary trigger for lithium battery thermal runaway, the technical term for what happened on Indigo 6E108. A battery that overheats does not just get warm, It enters a self-sustaining chemical reaction that generates its own heat, accelerates, and cannot be stopped without external intervention. In an aircraft cabin, that process produces dense toxic smoke within seconds. The DGFA had communicated these regulations to all Indian carriers. Airlines were instructed to reinforce passenger awareness through safety announcements and cabin crew briefings. The rules were not ambiguous. They were not new. They had been in force for 4 months. Now look at what happened on seat 39C. The power bank was in the seat pocket, not in hand baggage. It was reportedly being used to charge a mobile phone during the taxi phase. Both facts represent direct violations of the DGCA regulation, and both facts raise a question the investigation must now answer. How does a prohibited device end up in a seat pocket on a commercial Indigo flight, visible to every crew member who walked the aisle during boarding, during the safety demonstration, during the flight, and during taxi, without being caught? Act 3. Why this keeps happening. The Indigo incident is not the first lithium battery fire on a commercial aircraft. It will not be the last, and the reason it keeps happening is the same reason every systemic aviation safety failure keeps happening: the gap between what regulators mandate and what airlines enforce. Globally, lithium battery incidents on commercial aircraft have been increasing for a decade. The FAA tracks battery incidents on US aircraft and has recorded a significant rise year on year since 2015. The International Air Transport Association, IATA, classifies lithium battery fires as one of the most serious, undeclared dangerous goods risks in commercial aviation. The risk is specific and well understood. Lithium-ion batteries can enter thermal runaway if damaged, overheated, or charged with a faulty charger. Thermal runaway in a confined aircraft cabin produces dense smoke that can reduce visibility to 0 within 90 seconds and generate temperatures sufficient to ignite surrounding materials. In December 2024, the Air Busan Flight 391 incident in South Korea saw an Airbus A321 catch fire just before takeoff at Gimhae International Airport. All 176 passengers and crew survived. The cause was traced to a lithium battery in the tail section. The incident prompted aviation regulators globally, including India's DGCA, to tighten their lithium battery regulations. India's DGCA responded in January 2026 with the ban that was in force on the day Indigo 6E108 landed in Chandigarh. That ban was a direct response to the Air Busan incident. It was issued specifically to prevent exactly what happened yesterday. The investigation into Indigo 6E108 will examine whether the airline adequately communicated the DGCA regulation to passengers before and during the flight. It will examine whether the crew conducted appropriate checks during boarding and taxi. It will examine whether seat pocket restrictions were enforced. None of these questions have official answers yet. What aviation safety experts have consistently noted is that passenger compliance with lithium battery regulations is among the most difficult enforcement challenges in modern aviation because the device looks identical whether it is being used legally or illegally, and because crew focus during boarding and taxi is divided across multiple safety responsibilities simultaneously. What is not in dispute is this: the regulation existed, it was clear, it was 4 months old, and on Indigo 6E108 yesterday it was not followed by the passenger and apparently not caught by anyone responsible for catching it. The passenger in seat 39C was using a power bank to charge their phone during taxi. That is a banned act on every commercial flight in India since January 2026. The device was in a seat pocket, not in hand baggage, where regulations require it. It was visible. It was accessible. It was in a location that cabin crew are specifically trained to check. 200 people evacuated a plane on emergency slides because of it. 5 of them went to the hospital. The DGCA's formal investigation will determine what Indigo knew, what the crew checked, and whether the airline's enforcement of its own safety protocols and India's aviation regulations was adequate. But the bigger question this incident raises is one that no single investigation will fully resolve. India is the world's fastest growing aviation market. In 2025, Indigo alone carried over 100 million passengers. Every one of those passengers likely had a power bank in their bag. A meaningful proportion of them used those power banks during their flight. The DGCA issued a ban in January. Airlines sent out advisories. Crew make announcements. And yesterday, a power bank was in a seat pocket on a commercial aircraft being actively used. This was in direct violation of a 4-month-old ban designed specifically to prevent cabin fires. The rule exists. The risk is understood. The enforcement is not working. When the DGCA releases its findings on Indigo 6E108, Inside Aviation will cover every detail. Subscribe now so you do not miss it. And if you have flown Indigo or any Indian carrier recently, check the comments. Your experience with power bank enforcement on those flights is exactly what this investigation needs to hear.